US Secretary of State Antony Blinkey says Washington has direct contact with the Syrian rebel group that ousted the Assad regime. Russia has pulled its forces back from the front lines in northern Syria, but has refused to leave its two main military bases.
A Russian helicopter gunship circles above its base near Latakia on the Mediterranean coast in Syria. Enormous transporter planes manoeuvre around the airstrip, preparing perhaps to fly equipment out of Syria. The Syrian checkpoint in front of the base is now deserted. Past the Russian flag, a picture of President Putin still hangs, alone. The image of Bashar al-Assad is conspicuously absent. Beyond the gates, Russian soldiers stand guard. They're awaiting the arrival of another convoy. It trundles along the narrow roads towards the base. This has been going on for a few days now. The soldiers are pulling back their armoured vehicles, troop carriers and supply trucks from bases across Syria. Some are marked with a Z, synonymous, of course, with the war in Ukraine. But this is a war that is now over. The drawdown is part of discussions about their future presence in the country that's taking place between Moscow and the new government here.
Well, the Russian forces have basically propped up the Assad regime since 2015, and of course that regime has now fallen. It's quite clear they're withdrawing from their bases and they're coming back to this one, which is a transport hub.
The entrance to the airport that shares the base is now guarded by HTS fighters as they wait for higher-ups to issue orders.
The location of this airport is very important, and we've received orders to be here.
Have you been speaking to the Russians at all, or have you heard from them, or are you staying outside and they're inside?
As soldiers, we don't have any contact with them, but there might be coordination between them and the country's military council.
The villagers around the base have made a good living from the Russian soldiers. The shop names and chemists are written in Russian. Now, rebel fighters are in town. The Russian military vehicles make their way along the Mediterranean coast past destroyed or abandoned Syrian army vehicles. HTS soldiers with low loaders are now collecting abandoned tanks. They're rebuilding the new Syrian army. The changes taking place in Syria this week are quite something to see.
Well, the sheer number of tanks that we've been driving past and military vehicles is remarkable. The soldiers are telling us that they're going to refurbish them, but they're not damaged. They've just got out of oil, or batteries have run flat. So these have all just been abandoned. It literally has gone on for mile after mile.
The regime has gone. Its main supporters are withdrawing from the countryside. It feels like a chapter in this Syrian saga is ending, but the story is far from over. Stuart Ramsey, Sky News, Latakia.